On the peaceful world of Ember, the Alliance of Nations prospers, free of scarcity and injustice, a utopia for all. This could all be destroyed when the Galactic Empire invades. All that stands between the Empire and the Alliance are the brave adventurers of the Exploration Corps, searching the galaxy for allies and technology. Power to defend the Alliance. Power to protect Utopia.
Joining me for this session of Dungeons & Dragons pre-edition Order, we have George.
Hi guys, I'll be playing Caliber today. I'm a level 1 well, so I like mouth breathing and rage sniffle. Please forgive me.
Well, no changes there with mouth breathing, George. Next up we have Ray.
Hello, I'll be playing Garrett.
And notably not mouth breathing, last but certainly not least we have Simon.
Hello, I'll be playing Rowie Watana.
Wonderful. Okay, so this game we'll be playing today is a science fiction hack of Dungeons & Dragons written by myself. It draws on the works of Asimov, Clark, Ian M. Banks, all that sort of fiction, and kind of marries it up with existing playing fields. Our protagonists in this game are stranded on a hostile and seemingly unexplored world far from the core of the galaxy. They're far from rescue as a exploratory exploration ship, and
Is the next part of the journey through the trees, or like what type of terrain is it?
This is back. You can access this to a legacy point. It's it's quite open, rocky. The grass seems to be there rather than quite yellow to that. Um, the leaves are less well adapted to dark places and environments.
Oh, well, no problem. Yes, I should be suited to be able to scout in that terrain.
That's well, I'll accompany you to this. Um, just as a scouting in the right directions. I have certain companions who are more likely to stay behind.
Thank you for the opportunity to prove myself.
Great. He says, "You will prove yourselves quite enough either way. So if you want another go, let me know."
I'll nod enthusiastically. Always wanting to make a good impression.
Okay. He says, "Well, we've packed some supplies. We'll head out after you finish."
Um, I look around and think I've got everything in my backpack. I look at the others and go, "Do you guys need any more supplies?"
I'm all set. I'm all set for a journey.
Brilliant.
He sits down into his flatbed and he says, "Well, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to find you here. I'll get prepped and I'll come back to you."
Yes, no problem. If you need any help, let us know. We can help.
He nods again. This is a very deliberate concession to you probably. He nods and says, "It's all good. Those locals sound along. Seem like it's safe travels." He also takes a note. I'll give him his name as well.
Hmm.
He's a larger guy, so he nods again.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, well, if you've got no further questions, running with a would come back to you. He says, "I've mentioned that we're going to want to return to home.
Hmm.
He's sensible, so let's keep ourselves moving."
Put our feet where we can think of our bodies. Lovely.
So yeah, he leads you away through the small wood path. You guys make this. As you move for the first 20 minutes or so, you notice that while you are moving through the dense jungle that you have walked through now, the ground becomes more rocky and less densely planted with trees. Um, like moving through this sort of density of forest, like you would often find yourselves having to stop and like actually breathe to breathe. That's becoming less and less often now that you've safely exited the denser jungle. Um, do you guys have anything in particular that you want to do or you're looking out for during this period while you're walking through the edge of the jungle?
Whilst we're in the edge of the jungle, I think I would have sort of taken off my swimsuit by now as well. Um, but as we're going through the undergrowth, I think I'm just looking out for any more of those horizontal spiders or anything. I don't want to be trapped with webs. I'm up to my big tiny botflies, quite literally.
Hmm.
I'd just like to be safe from anything web-like. So I'm gonna keep my eyes out for them, thankfully.
Give me an insight check if you like. you keep your eye out for these spiders. There comes a point when the four of you are heading up a gentle rise in the terrain. Now that you've encountered these rises a couple of times this morning already. Typically, they're followed by like a dip in the terrain, then another rise, and then gently back down to level. You think they're probably caused by like tree roots or something, where a tree has pitched over in high winds. But as you head over them, Cowardice would note that like you spot movement on the far side, and there's a lot of undergrowth here, or rather, there's a lot of leaf litter here. And you see a large shape, perhaps a foot across, scurry into the undergrowth, and you didn't get a good look at it, but you'd note that Rowie is just going up the other side, and he's just about to go past it.
I'd say, very watch out. I just saw some kind of creature next to you. Stay on your toes.
Like stop kind of thing, and immediately kind of look around to see kind of what it could be.
Give me a perception check.
Okay. My perceptions +7. That is also a nat 1. But that's an 8. That's an 8 for a nat 1.
All right. Good start, guys. Good start. Okay. So you like look around you, and look down at your feet. You see that there is a lot of leaf litter down there. You don't spot anything, but like there are a couple of slight depressions in the leaf litter here, and it makes you think starkly of a kind of creature that exists on your homeworld. They're a sort of slime, these creatures, a giant overgrown amoeba, and they are known for burrowing into the ground. But the way they predate on other creatures is they just kind of dig a little divot into the ground and sit in it. And whenever something comes along and puts its foot in it, the creature then attacks it with paralyzing neurotoxin. And as the creature becomes paralyzed, while still alive and conscious, as far as the Emberian scientists say, it would slowly crawl its way centimeter by centimeter up the victim's body, dissolving them from the outside in.
Not nice at all.
Yeah, and these divots they remind you very, very strongly of those creatures.
Right, okay.
Can we put a stick in them? Can we stick them?
Yeah.
Will that wake them up, Ray? Do you know if that will wake them up? If so, we can stick them and see.
I guess like the best way for these divots kind of thing is to kind of throw a bit of bait on there, so a bit of rations kind of thing, to see if it is the same thing. Because obviously it would attack. Oh, we've got a little drummer boy we could test it on,
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I'll try bait first.
Drummer Boy would have stayed behind. I think that Zitai would have sat this one out, just because he's not a subtle man, and this is a scouting mission. So little Drummer Boy would have stayed behind with him. So he's safe from a rally.
Damn it! He's the 10-foot pole I use, though. Okay, so yeah, I'll sprinkle like a piece of my rations on like one of these divots to see if it is the same thing.
Sure. So you take some of the rations. Is this part of like an exploration corps MRE, or is it some of the dried meat that the Yoruba have?
It's more kind of some of the snackage we caught, I guess.
Sure. So yeah, you take one of the small rodents that you caught on your hunting trip, kind of like gingerly throw it onto one of the divots.
Hmm.
As this is happening, Running River is kind of sitting at the top of one of the rises. He gets out his scrap of leather. He writes something on it and then shows it to Garrick. But it reads, "What are they doing?"
I guess I'll say, I don't know. It seems they may have found something that is interesting.
He erases what he wrote and then writes, "The leaves are interesting this time of year."
Yes, I'm
And they
sure they
need
are.
feeding, apparently. They're just feeding the leaves.
Um, hmm. I'll kind of like head on over, um, and go. Running River is a bit concerned about what you're doing. He's quite confused. Um,
Don't step anywhere. Watch out for the divots.
Yeah,
Keep yourself safe.
so Very would note that it is Garrick. As Garrick steps forwards, his one of his feet lands not 30 centimeters from one of these divots.
I'll be careful. There could be slimes about. We're testing the hypothesis. Calidus saw something, and these tracks seem very similar.
uh, can you describe the creature to Running River? Maybe he's heard of something like it.
Oh, sure. So I'll gingerly step around these divots. Like I'll tell Calidus to keep an eye on the bait, see if anything does kind of come for it.
Watching
Sure.
it.
I'll explain the creature we have on Ember, and the reminiscence of these kind of craters. Oh, as it's my first scouting kind of duty, I'm just making sure I don't want to lead anyone into a trap.
Um, Running River sits back and thinks for a moment. Um, you can tell he's thinking because his pupils dilate a little and his whiskers are pointing a little forwards. He's concentrating on like trying to remember anything about that. But eventually, after a few seconds, he writes down, "I've never heard of such a thing."
Okay, in that case, I'll shout down to Calidus and go, have you seen anything more?
Nothing with the food. It's it's just sitting there on the hull.
So that tends to corroborate Running River's um, remembrance, at least. It doesn't seem that they are here, but thanks for being vigilant. I guess we must move on.
Okay. Should we take the food back? Do you think the food's okay to eat still?
I doubt it.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Just in case the food hasn't awakened it. I mean, I don't want to go put my hand on it and it grabs my hand. Let's put it that way. I don't want to shake hands with a slime. Let's put it that way.
But yeah, so I'll kind of track on. I'll be kind of watching the divots a bit more, kind of thing. But like I'm not fully convinced because of the possibility, but kind of scout on anyway, regardless.
Sure.
Okay.
So Running River would say to Garrett,
We're offline at the moment.
I think we're back now.
Yep, live now.
Sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone.
"Yes, the internet plagues everybody, some more than others, unfortunately. However, we're back live now. So after the encounter with the mysterious divots, the party moves on through the undergrowth and towards the edge of the jungle that you've been traveling through up till now. Um, as you reach the edge, of the jungle. The trees, like you get to a point where the trees quite quickly get thinner rather than gradually. They get much thinner over a period of like 2 minutes walking until you reach a point where you're kind of moving out of the last trees, and the landscape in front of you opens up like a reasonable amount. You've you've travelled uphill a little, it seems, over your journey, which would make sense as you were going upriver. To your right and to the south, you can see one of the two mountains that are on the western side of the plains that the Yoruba live on. The Yoruba's village is next to a stream that is between the two mountains. You can't see that from here as it's behind the nearer of the two mountains, but you can see them like far in the distance to the south. Ahead of you, to the east, you can see that the landscape drops off quite a bit. Like it's kind of a gentle slope downwards, and you can see quite far in that direction. Obviously, the planet you're on, the moon, I should say, you're on, is quite small, so the horizon is quite close. So you've not got as far a view as you would on Earth, for example. But the view is still reasonably far. You can see that the grassland in front of you is there's a different species of grass here. It grows a little taller and greener than the grass that you've encountered up till now. And the Yoruba would show up on it more than they would on the yellow grass of their home turf, as it were. In front of you, almost due east, you can see that there's a lake that is perhaps 50, like perhaps 10 miles in diameter and 2 in like, you know, other diameter, I guess. It's kind of an oval shape, this lake, an irregular oval. I guess if it's an ellipse, then it would be semi-major and semi-minor axis. But it's this lake is like, I think that Rewi would pick up on it more than the others, but you would note that it's very dark in color. This lake, it's very it's almost like black in color, though it's not obvious because it's still like, mid morning. The sun is reflecting off it, so its color isn't super obvious. What you can see though is to the north of the lake, so on the left from your perspective, you can see that there is a small village which you can just about make out if you really squint. But mostly you can see like a small plume of smoke from presumably chimney fires, where people are burning stuff, cooking fires and things like that. Further north and to your left, you can see that the terrain rises a little, and you can see that the jungle you've just left kind of curves north of where you are, then turns east. So the jungle almost forms like a crescent to your left as you look, going like forwards out in front of you. So there's this like large area of grasslands kind of like nestled between the jungle to behind you and to your left to the north, and between that and the plains to your right to the south, and the large black lake. The plains itself is quite. There are more trees on it than there were on the savannah that the Yoruba are from. So there is a bit of cover, and generally the ground is a lot more rocky. Like there are large stones here and there. Some of these stones you would note immediately are very square. They're not naturally formed boulders. They are, they're cut stones. It's unclear as to what the deal is with that. Some of them are quite large, maybe 10 feet long, 5 feet tall. So really quite significant stones.
Yeah.
But they are very regular in shape. Some of them. A lot of the stones as well seem to be like half regular in shape, but like they've broken. So you'll see occasionally like boulders that are square and then just like normal boulder shape on the rest of it, where it's presumably broken at some point.
I guess I'd ask Running River about it. Like, how come the boulders at cube and square?
Um, as he sits down and he writes on his leather. Um, People don't really um, think about it much. I have my own theories. Um, we have some stories that run in common through many tribes. That at one point there was a all the tribes were one tribe at some point, and we have ruins in some places where the first tribe, as we call it, where the first tribe built great structures. Um, there aren't any tribes today that build structures like this out of the bones of the earth. Um,
The bones of the earth, like the metal.
yes, some of these ancient structures are constructed from the bones of the earth.
Wow.
You would all know that bones of the earth is the local word for adamantine, a very notoriously difficult to work with metal that is extremely hard, extremely durable, but also extremely heavy and can only be worked at extremely high temperatures. Temperatures that typically can only be reached once you've got like magically powered forges. Modern technology essentially.
If only we had a dwarf with us, we could tell a lot more about the history of the stone.
Said very racistly.
Stone cunning's a thing. But yeah, so I'll look at these oddly, and I think the first thing I would do is kind of get a I stand on one of the stones and get a better viewpoint kind of thing of the landscape. Because we've just left the trees kind of thing. I'm not going to be making myself too obvious because I'm against the backdrop of the trees. And I'll ask Running River while we're here, kind of thing. So, what type of predation goes on here?
Um, he writes. Um, there's the further east you go, and the more reptilian creatures you tend to find. Um, there are large herbivores that graze on the edge of the forest. There must be some of them. Well, I can't see any today, but they're around. And there are larger carnivores that predate on them.
So, I'll describe a T-Rex kind of thing. Like that.
Yes, like that.
Oh, right. Um, they are a formidable enemy. I can remember fighting one when we first got to shore. Well, two technically.
Yeah, he just kind of looks at you inscrutably for a couple of seconds, and then writes, "Okay."
And then I guess I'll scout out the kind of landscape as best I can, kind of thing, to see if I can see any recent tracks or yeah.
Sure. Give me a survival check.
Survival check. Okay. I think that's +7. Yep, +7. That is a 13. I'm rolling high today.
So, looking out over these grasslands, you You can see evidence to back up what Running River's saying. There, like, you can see some of the trees have been essentially stripped of leaves by some very, very large creature. They've even reached the very tops of the trees. So whatever it is probably analogous to a giraffe. The same sort of body plan, but quite a bit bigger, most likely. You would note that there's evidence of other large creatures as well. Like a few there, but it's all four-legged by the look of it. There's no two-legged creatures that have moved around here recently. Though that makes sense. It takes a very, very large area of land to be able to support a predator as large as a T-Rex.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily be able to just randomly pick out, their footprints because there's not many of them.
Makes sense.
Or rather, they're very low density and travel very long distances. But yeah, lots of quadrupedal herbivores around here by the look of it. You do pick up on one quite old set of sets of humanoid footprints in this kind of like low-lying muddy patch that seems to have gone dry over the last few days. But based on when it last rained, these tracks could be up to maybe 5 or 6 days old. But a group of humanoids came through here, maybe like between 10 and 30, difficult to say.
Okay. Like, that wouldn't necessarily worry me, because, like, we are looking for humanoids, we are heading to a town. So, I guess the next thing I'd do is try and surmise how quickly we can get to the town, and which direction the wind is.
Yeah. So the wind is blowing directly towards you. It's blowing from the east. It seems to be quite constant, the wind as well. It's not very gusty. It's kind of more constant than you might expect. But it seems that like that's quite a consistent air current here.
Well, we are in luck. Our scent won't be carried, so if we stay low, we shall not be seen by any of these T-Rex.
Our scent will be carried backwards, I guess.
Yes, back to the tree line.
Hopefully nothing's behind us, eh?
Well, we shall see it coming if it chases from behind us, but not from the sides, you see.
Running River would write on his pad here and show Garrick. I wonder if the slimes can smell.
I'll have a little bit of a laugh at that.
Mean
I'm
person.
worried.
And then I guess I'll kind of work out a path that kind of least resistance as such, so we can get to the town quickly, and I'll start like tracking down it.
Sure. So yeah, you plot you chart a course that takes you that minimizes the number of places you can be seen from, and start trekking through the grasslands towards this town, Udaka. So is there anything in particular you guys want to be doing as you are kind of on this walk through the grasslands? It's getting towards mid to late morning now, and looking upwards, the purple gas giant suspended above you, the planet about which this moon orbits, is getting quite the sun's getting quite close to it, so the lesser night will be on you in a couple of hours.
I'd like to just mimic the movement of Running River. He's made this journey a few times by the sound of things. I think he knows what he's doing. So yeah, I just want to stay low rather than getting on all fours. I'm not going to become quadrupedal. I'll remain bipedal, but try to mimic him.
Sure. Not going to return to monkey today.
No, not today. Maybe later. You never know.
Yeah, who knows? Polymorph's a spell. What about Garrick, Brad?
I'm gonna keep an eye out for any like different plants and things that might resemble any like medicinal herbs or things that I'd know of
Sure.
from my home, I guess.
Yeah, give me a medicine check.
Okie dokie. So medicine is there. It is. An 11.
11. So you find, like, it seems to be quite, the landscape here seems to be quite barren, apart from, the grass that's here. The grass seems to be it's very pervasive, very invasive, it seems, very hardy as well. It's likely that this grass is why the jungle hasn't spread further than it has. It's just very, very competitive in this niche, and it just fills all of the niches. Um, but you do note that in a few places where the soil is a bit different or it is sheltered by the large boulders that dot the landscape, you do notice that there are poppies occasionally. Um, in your obviously the place you're from, Thore, exists inside an anti-magic field, so they don't have any shortcuts for medicine like that most other places have. You know what you need to deal with a wound, cure wounds. If you need to deal with a condition that's causing a lot of pain, greater restoration will do it, and if not, we'll just stick you in a regenerator and have a regenerate cast on you. That simply doesn't exist on Thore. So if you need to deal with pain there, you need painkillers. And you're aware that there is a painkiller that is derived from the seeds of poppies. Though it's quite a powerful anesthetic, but you are aware that doctors on Thore are loath to prescribe it these days because it's known to be quite addictive.
Okie dokie. I mean, I'll collect them.
Sure.
Just in case, if I can make some opioids, maybe I can perhaps sell them or trade them.
Wow.
Yeah.
5e Breaking Bad. Let's do it.
Yeah, you would be aware that you can make more recreational drugs with them as well, and also sedatives.
Should be fine.
Yeah, yeah. I think that while use of drugs recreationally is while use of drugs recreationally isn't inherently seen as a bad thing on Thore, I think that they like the sense of duty that's like an honor that's very integral to the culture would look badly on addiction rather than drugs inherently. So bear that in mind, I guess, as to what Garrick's opinion is on that piece of culture of where he comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you're able to collect the poppies.
Okie dokie.
I can't
Just in
wait.
my bag.
Like we've had mushrooms, now it's like heroin.
The Sojourner Express for drugs. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
The new Silk Road.
Yeah. Okay, so I think as you're collecting those, Running River would write to you. He'd say, I didn't think you were one for picking flowers.
I'll say they resemble a plant that I can use to make something that soothes pain from my home. I was wondering if these could be used for the same purpose.
He like his ears flatten a little, and he says, "I'm not aware of such a purpose, but if you can find something, let me know."
Of course, I'll happily share any results I find with you.
Yeah, I have a mortar and pestle in my kit if that's of any help to you.
Will it help? I'm guessing it will.
Yeah, I mean you're gonna need to grind up the seeds at some point.
Yeah. I go, that would very much help.
You know how it's technically, if you have too much, it's a paralytic.
Yeah.
Well, does that come under poison?
Um,
Are you
I
suggesting we use heroin to poison someone?
Why not?
I
um,
mean, it's very doable, and they'll probably enjoy it. So
yeah, I think you would have to have. It would require a higher dose than you could coat an arrowhead with. I think. Though you could probably use your new blow darts that you got off the Intaba
Hmm.
to administer such a poison, venom in this case.
Yeah. I'm
So
just
it
thinking,
would be
even
very
if it was
a very high dose in order to actually incapacitate somebody.
like ingested, like you can get higher doses in easy enough.
Yeah,
if it
like
was like
that would be easier to do if they were ingested it. Yeah.
if it was like laudanum, and you made a good dose of laudanum, I guess you could, couldn't you?
But all I'm saying is, it's not far from a numbing agent to a poison, so I might be able to help Garrett create this thing.
Okay. Okay. The suggestion is purely innocent then.
Yeah. Always
Not likely.
innocent. I'm a chemist after all.
Right. So yeah, that's what Garrick's doing. Is Rowie in looking out for anything in particular, or is he concentrating on pathfinding?
So he's concentrating on pathfinding. He's not looking above the grass really. He's keeping kind of quite low, and he's using his ears because that's his most sensitive, auditory sense, I guess.
His only auditory sense.
You never know.
Give me a perception check.
Yeah.
Not an extrasensory perception check, just a regular perception check.
No, but you never know. You might track vibrations through the soles of his feet. We haven't
He might have
investigated that
3
yet.
ears. You never know.
That's an 18.
18, nice. So you're you spend like the rest of the morning walking through the grasslands, slowly moving to the east. You'd be picking up like there's a lot of a lot of what you hear is insects, but they're small insects. You can hear grasshoppers around here, which is not something that exists on Tavali. It's not something that exists on your planet. It's something you've only really encountered since you arrived on Ember, the planet the exploration calls from. They had grasshoppers there, and you recognize the sound from the wilderness parts of that planet.
Yeah, they're noisy as anything. Really annoying.
Yeah, creatures can't really get away with making that sort of racket where you're from. They just get eaten.
Yeah.
But here it seems they can. There are small flying insects as well, and on a few occasions you notice that there are small birds flying around. These birds are perhaps 2-3 inches long and bright blue. They flit with great speed between, across the ground, landing on individual blades of grass. It seems that they're eating the seeds of the grass, and that's how they sustain themselves. Though occasionally you do see them snatch small insects out of the air as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, occasionally you see these birds moving around in quite large flocks, maybe 30 or 40 individuals. And when they do, the flurry of the wings, almost insect-like, and the flashing of their beaks, kind of gives their flocks almost like an opalescent and shiny look, like a shoal of fish almost.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye out on them as well, then, just in case they suddenly get scared off by something, because that would be a good indication that there's some prey.
Yeah. As you move further, occasionally you do see creatures on the ground, snakes. It seems that they slither between these between blades of grass. It seems like you catch one in the act, as it kind of coils itself up and launches itself forwards towards one of these birds as it lands on a blade of grass. It misses, thankfully for the bird, which flies off. But it seems that that's what the predator-prey relationship is there. These snakes aren't big enough to pose a serious threat to you, though. I mean, they might be extremely venomous, but it's unlikely.
Well, I was thinking I might give one a bop on the head.
Yeah,
Like, snakes are tasty.
sure. Give me a survival check. See if you can catch any in the act again.
Nice. Survival. That is a 20, not that.
Nice. So yeah, how would you be going about looking for one of these? Would it be a case of like sneaking up on one and just like grabbing it with your hand, or would you like try and shoot it with your bow or something?
So I've got a magic mana crystal staff. That I took from a pirate. So it's basically a
Yeah,
quarter staff.
sure.
I
Yeah,
just bop it
or
on the head with it.
encrusted with mana crystals. Sure.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not aiming to break any of these mana crystals, by the way.
Yes. You would be aware that mana crystals are an incredibly dense form of energy storage used in all modern technology. They function as batteries essentially, but they're much more energy dense than any batteries we have in real life. Batteries in real life explode when you damage them. These things explode even more.
Yes. I do not want to explode it on a snake.
Yeah. So yeah, like you could sneak up behind one and bop one with the staff. It goes limp. Its neck broken. It's only small.
Yeah, I like cut its head off, like put the head in my bag so I can test its fangs, and then just like casually kind of tie it around my neck like a scarf, and then carry on. Like
Sure.
until they see another one and just start collecting them, like just
Yeah.
like it's normal.
Yeah. These snakes are quite long and thin. So you can actually like get it quite comfortably around your neck a couple of times, like in loops.
Yeah, it's just to hold it on. It's the most easiest place, like using it as a necklace.
Yeah.
Nothing weird about it.
Yeah. So yeah, they're greeny blue. These snakes. So yeah, they make quite a fashionable, perhaps, piece of fashion. Though this fashion is about as fast as it gets, because they will go rotten.
Yes. But when
You
we
should
get to a
you should
campfire,
you
I can
should
roast
plait
them.
them. You can plait them together and make a nice multicolored one.
Nice.
If you would like to plait one, you can.
I'll leave you to your snake charming. That's a rarey thing, not a calidus.
Sure. But yeah, you grab your snakes, and the group continues further east. I think you guys, of the group of you, I think Rowie would notice this, particularly because you're taking point. But you would note a flash of blue near the ground, and this is a bright blue color, bigger than the birds, and too blue to be one of the snakes. You see it's perhaps a foot tall, this creature, and it's walking on two legs. It seems to be somewhere like it's walking on two legs in the humanoid fashion. So it's not like chicken, like an avian dinosaur with like chicken legs. It's walking in the human sort of fashion. And it kind of like cocks its head and look at you. Its head is kind of like long and thin and scaly blue. It's very kind of like saurian, like a crocodile almost head. But it has like long pointed ears at the back, like external ears. Like you'd see it for just a moment, and you'd know it sees you as well, and then it like turns and scampers behind the boulder it was next to. It has a long, like snaky tail, that whips round behind it and is the last thing you see of it for the moment.
Okay, I'd halt everyone and turn to Running River and let him know what I've seen and go, what the fuck is that? I've not seen something that weird.
He sits down and says, "It sounds like a bow.
A bow.
There is a lake far to the west, far to the east of here, surrounded by swamps. There's a tribe there called the Bow. They are lizards, similar to what you described. So this could be one of them. Though, if it was blue and that size, then it was one of their. It was a child of their tribe.
Right. I'm glad I didn't do the bop. Are they friendly?
That's a very good question. The Bow are, while they are, they're the only reason that we consider the Bow a tribe is because Sovereign considers them a tribe. I don't think they consider themselves a tribe.
Have they ever won the game?
No, but they don't lose more than anybody else. They're though I also don't think that they really would have minded if you had, as you say, done the bop. They do not raise their children as humans or Yoruba do.
Right. But
Now, keep in mind, Rory, that doesn't mean that you can do the bop. I don't think it'd be right.
well, I guess so. But turtle tastes very nice.
You and your exotic foods? Okay, well, let's see if we can coax it out with some food, eh? I'll get some
Well,
rations out my bag and
I'm
walk closer to the boulder and lay them in front.
I was thinking where there's a small one, there may be a larger one nearby. Like, you wouldn't
Not by
expect
the...
a child to wander out on its own.
No, if they're raising them. If they're not really raising them like we do, it might just be a case of once you're born, you're out.
Well, I wouldn't waste any time over it, but if you really want it, if I come across it, I can bop it, but we have got a
I'll
journey
put
to
the
make.
I'll put the food back in my bag and we'll head off on the journey. But I think we'll be cautious whether this little bow child is following us. Could be little drummer boy's friend. We could build up a little menagerie of
Yeah,
pet
maybe.
humanoids.
Yeah. As you move around the side of the boulder, you note that it's like the bow child is not there anymore. It's scampered off somewhere.
As we're walking, I'll kind of ask Running River. Obviously, you can't answer it now as we're tracking through, but do they have a language?
He says they do. They can form most of the sounds of Imperial Standard, and some of them speak it.
I'll kind of nod and just carry on walking. Like, so they can be kind of spoken to, so I don't think I should eat them.
The
Mm,
their children, however, they can't speak. They're not much more than animals until they've reached their adult form.
I, eating a communicating species seems wrong.
Um,
it's good to know where you draw the line, Rory.
yeah, Running River shrugs and says, "They're not good eating anyway."
Great. It's good to know where Running River draws the line as well. Then. Apparently not far from Worry.
It's good.
He writes, "Don't judge me. They eat their own young as well."
Lead by example, Running River. Lead by example.
It's not weird. It's just different. And then I carry on.
Still getting used to Shrike as I follow you.
Yeah. Okay. So are you like doing anything in particular with this information, or is it just a case of cracking on?
It's
No.
a case of cracking on and kind of being a bit more kind of wary of blue flashes as such. Maybe going a bit slower so like I don't startle or like run into other lizard folk because I didn't hear this one, which was odd.
Sure. Okay. So I think as you continue on, being much more wary now that there are these perhaps these enigmatic lizard creatures out there now, I think we'll go for our first of 2 breaks this session. We started a little late, so we'll be back at 9. We'll take only a short break. Stretch your legs, everybody. Grab a biscuit, grab a drink. I certainly will be, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes.